Please welcome back to the stage Peter Zaitsev.
Oh, wonderful. What a welcome. So, folks, wasn't that a great conference? Okay. So, are you planning to attend next year? Yes or yes? Yes, that is fantastic. That is very glad to hear. Well, now I have a pleasure to introduce a person who has a very special role in an open source database ecosystems for the last, 30 years. And I'll start with a little story actually happened today. We are sitting, having a lunch, talking about MySQL and stuff, and one person comes and says, oh, I hear about MySQL, have you been using that for a long time? And that person says, well, actually create MySQL. And then the person who joined us says, well, now think about that, we actually don't use MySQL, use MariaDB. He says, well, yeah, I create that too. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? Well, but in addition to creating the two wonderful open source databases of the last couple of decades, this person is also responsible for me standing here and for actually all this conference taking place. Back in 1999, I remember reaching out to him and asking for a job reference, right? I thought that would be kind of cool for me to have a letter from that person to go and find for a job. Well, instead, he offered me one. I don't know how many times he had to regret that later on, right? Because we had a lot of spirited discussions, but well, work at MySQL IB, then turned later to founding Percona, and that is what brought us all here. So with that, I want to welcome here Michael Widenius, also known as Monty, or the Monty, creator of MySQL and MariaDB.
Thanks, Peter. I would like to start with a thanks for having organized this Percona Live Again conference. It's so nice to finally be able to travel and see people, real people talking about interesting things, and also see friends that you haven't seen in a couple of years. That's fantastic. But up to MariaDB. So this is 30 slides. I have 50 minutes, so 2 slides per minute. So half a year ago in Debian, MariaDB replaced MySQL in popularity. And we are growing, and we are doing good and working with all distributions. And we had to also remember it's not only Linux, it's also lots of Windows users who are running us. And this is from our downloads. We don't have the mirror statistics here, but in addition to downloads from MariaDB.org, we also have about 2.5 billion downloads of Docker images. And there's lots of users all over the world. We are most popular in China, South Korea, US, and then we have some Latin American companies. But this is one of the reasons I'm going to China by August, have to stay 2 weeks in quarantine in a hotel room, getting pizza under the door. You can't go out from the room. But you need to keep the users happy. So with MariaDB, one of the new things is that starting from 10.7, there is a new release model where we do 4 releases a year, a little bit like MySQL, but we also have every second year we do a long-term release. And what you should just know about is that the short-term releases, they are mostly for testing. You should always standardize on the stable one. Currently it's 10.6, the next stable one or long-term release, which means support for 5 years, should be 10.10. There's lots of things coming to it. Downloads by release, it also shows that 10.7 and 10.8 is not that used. Unfortunately, the 10.5 and 10.4, we lost our download server, so we don't have history about that, but 10.6 kind of shows the difference between 10.7 and 10.8. MariaDB Foundation is the one unique thing in the MySQL and MariaDB ecosystem is that we guarantee that MariaDB will always be open source. And we have some 10 people working at the foundation, and we have worked a lot with the community, close to 1,400 commits from, or pull requests from different communities. We have 8 outstanding, but we are giving feedback to those. And we do, in the foundation, we do lots of videos, and we have MariaDB Fest virtual conferences up to 4 times a year. So if you want to take one of your talks you had today and make it available on YouTube and Foundation, please work with us. And in the beginning, people was afraid that, can we really make the Foundation work? No, we have lots of really big companies as sponsors and board members. We still need more, but at least we can show that we are not depending on one entity to keep MariaDB alive. Some highlights then from the previous versions of MariaDB, basically 10.5, and I will just highlight something I wrote, the S3 storage engine, which allows you to have a backup copy of data on S3, and you can configure it in 2 ways. But it's trivial to convert a table to S3. You just out that table, and then it will be moved to the S3 that we are specified with options. And you can then run it in 2 different ways. The tables are for backups, so they are read-only. But you can either have it master and the slave to have different things, or you can just use the same server for both. So this is really a good way to, for example, distributing data to some customers. So they don't need to install anything. They just point to your S3 storage and they can play with your data. So no features in 10.6. We have added JSON table, somewhat similar to MySQL. We have some features more, some features less than MySQL, but at least we got this one. Offset with ties is something that was asked by some customers, and basic like a limit, but it ensures that if you have things that are the same, you actually get all of them. So you can ask, give me the people with 10 most biggest salaries, and it still adds up those who has the same salaries as the last one. We are also constantly extending the Oracle compatibility layer in MariaDB. We have customers who have been able to take their applications, move to Maria, and run them unchanged. No conversions, nothing. Just put over data, test, and run. And Ronom was something that was added by a community person to MariaDB. We also got a pull request for some Oracle functions. Those are added. So sometimes with InnoDB, it can be a problem that you do something in one thread and you have long-running transactions. Some rows are locked, and you still want to be able to run things. Now you can run with skip locked, so you can still run the transaction on those rows who are not locked. We have added ignorable indexes. They are seen by insert, but not by the optimizer. And you can trivially enable or disable those. This is especially when the optimizer chooses wrong indexes for some whatever reason. So this can help you debug things. Atomic DDL. This was something that I wrote. I'm still actively writing code, and thanks to COVID, I've been able to write more code during the last 2 years than the last preceding 5 years. So something good with disaster. And no, all operations with the DDL are guaranteed to be crash safe. You don't lose data. Something we should have done a long time ago. And, but the nice thing with this way, I also created the infrastructure so that I can very easy abort the server at any point in time. So we also added points on every single place in the process of where you create a table, alter table. We added a crash, and then we saw that can we recover. And we did find a lot of bugs in the rest of the code, including in the DB, that we didn't know about. But we got everything fixed in 10.6, and now things are really, really stable. For system D, we added socket activation so that you can start the server on demand, just when somebody asks for the server. We are looking at the possibility to shut down the server when there are no users and then restart when there's a new socket activation. This is good for hosting when you don't want to have dead servers or servers not used take energy. And MariaDB starts in 2 seconds, so it is not a big delay when starting that. Lots of people asked us to include the sys schema. That's not no bundled. With InnoDB, we have Marco Mäkelä, who is really, really interested in performance, and almost everything he does is just to take InnoDB and make it more performant from release to release. I would believe that we had the most advanced InnoDB fork of anything. And we are, So in 10.7, there's lots of stuff. We have, I don't want to repeat what's on the table, but you can quickly see there's something interesting. One that I personally like is natural sort. So if you have something that you want to sort by numbers, the way that human wants, you can just add order by natural sort, and then you have a string. It's really great when you have numbers as part of a text. And we now have lots of different compressions, and we can trivially add a new compression algorithm if somebody needs it. And we do lots of compression both for the tables and for blobs and for the binary logs. So in 10.8, I mean, it's a short-term release, so it doesn't have that many features. The biggest one is probably lag-free alter table in replication, so that when you replicate an alter table, we send the alter table command to the slave at the start, to start at the same time as the master. And when the master says that it succeeded, then the alter table on the other side will also succeed. So basic alter table doesn't block anymore. Of course, in MariaDB, almost all alter table operations are online. You can add columns, you can drop columns, you can reorder them. Everything is basically instant. Adding a new index is online, goes in the background. But still there's things that if you, for example, change the primary key, then we have to rebuild everything. But this helps. So the question is what I'm working on now. During COVID, I've done lots of optimization of inner structures, taking classes and reorganize them to be more efficient. So this was a good time that when I develop, I always think that these are the things I should do at a rainy day. I will leave it that. Now we had a rainy day for 2 years. Perfect to do that. What I'm working on just now is working on the optimizer. I've already worked on 6 months on it. I wrote the original one, but during the last 30 years, there's lots of other people going through it. Some of those still in MariaDB, some of those have left. But there's still lots of things that has been a little bit ad hoc. I mean, it works great, but it's not really good to tune when there is an issue. And so what I've done is, and I should be ready for 10.10, is gone through every single cost calculation, checked those, fixed a lot of things that was not optimal for when you do really big and complex queries, which we have from banks who are running MariaDB. And also added 4 variables that you can tune all the costs. So if your hardware is different, instead of having to play with indexes and everything else, or trying to change the order of tables, you can just say that the cost of fetching a row is this on this device. And that, and with 5 variables, I think that some plans will change, but by just adjusting 4 variables once for all for the server, you should get better plans than anything before. And that was it just within 50 minutes. But I'm just, MariaDB is doing well, I'm doing well, I get to code, other people can take care of the business, everything is good. And I also love to go and meet customers and users. So it's happy to be here.